Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. Today we are kicking off a month sponsored by Balloon Coach, and each of the guests this month will be curated by Joette, who is the owner of BalloonCoach.com. So we are talking to all different sizes of business, styles of business. It's a really great month of interviews, but we are going to kick it off with Joette herself, who is having an honest conversation about what she would have done different knowing what she knows now. So she is one of the few professionals in the industry who has started a balloon business. She actually purchased that balloon business. She ran it for several years. She grew it and she sold it. So she has run kind of the entire life cycle of a balloon business and now is still very involved in the balloon industry, working as a coach and a mentor. So she is talking about if she knew what she knows now, what she would do different, what she did right, and what she recommends for those of us who are working in the industry trying to grow a business. So it's a great conversation, super honest and open. Thank you to Joette for not only being on, but for choosing our guests this month. So let's take a quick break and head over to the UGlu Hotline and then get into this week's episode with Joette from Balloon Coach. Welcome to the UGlu Hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks. Brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lee with Ventura County Balloons out of Ventura, California. My tip for the day is that when you're using foils that don't want to stick to one another with a UGlu, you put some clear tape on both sides. Then you use one of the long strips of UGlu dashes, not the dashes, but the strips. And voila, you're able to put them together and they will stick for as long as you want them to stick. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, UGlu, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on UGlu when you buy directly from Havin A Party using code BRIGHT at checkout. All right, welcome back, Joette. Another episode with Balloon Coach. And this is going to be a fun one because we're doing it through kind of this lens or this filter of what you would have done different, because you are one of the few people who have started a balloon business, run a balloon business, and sold a balloon business. And now you still coach people in the balloon world. So you not only, I'm sure, look back and think like, oof, I should have done that earlier or, differently, but also there's new things that exist now that didn't exist then. So this is you like reliving owning a balloon business with all that you know today and all that you teach about today. But before we jump in, give us an introduction. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Joette Giardina. I am from Lakeland, Florida, and I have a family of 3. My husband is a teacher. My daughter is now almost to turn 25 in October. She was 4 when I started in the industry, so she's grown up with a balloon family. And so yeah, we live in a home in Lakeland, Florida, about 45 minutes from Disney, so that's why we always have our events in that area. And that's me.
And what was your business when you owned it?
Party People Celebration Company.
Okay. And that was purchased by Jonathan Gerber?
Yeah, so I was Party People Celebration Company. I had bought Party People from another owner. So in 2003, when I bought my company, it had been a storefront locally that had closed down and had moved home. And she was going back. She needed time to be with her family because her oldest daughter was a freshman in college and her youngest was a kindergartner.
Oh my gosh.
So she's like, Joette, I don't have time for balloons. And so she offered me her company. And so I bought it and worked with her for 2 months, learning all the ins and outs and meeting all of her top clients. And what was great is it came with a file cabinet because we didn't have computer stuff. It was a large file cabinet with drawers that had all of our clients' names and their written invoices and receipts. So somebody called me and said, I need you to do what you did for my daughter's mitzvah last year for the other kid. I could see what they had gotten, but it was all paper.
Interesting.
So
And I guess, I kind of forgotten that you bought that company. Do you think having bought a company made you more confident in selling your company later on because you had kind of experienced what that was like?
it did. I mean, I definitely never purchased the company thinking I was going to sell it. I figured it was just going to be my career the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Never my wildest dreams that I thought I would become balloon coach. But buying it did make me know that yes, you could sell one someday. And the thing is, I got an amazing deal from her, and I asked her why it was such a great deal, and she said it was what she still owed on the paper products that were left in her storefront when she closed down and was on her credit card. Like she had paid
So
all
she
this.
just wanted to be out.
So yeah, she just didn't want to be in any debt and be free and clear from the business. And so I think that's one of the reasons I advise so many people like, hey, before you open up a retail shop, let's have a conversation. Let me give you some insights that I've heard from the past owner of my company and so many over the years, that how when you get into those paper products and everything, that it can be really a huge money suck and leave you in debt.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
so
So, okay, so we're gonna take a walk down memory lane later in this
okay.
episode. Let's fast forward though to just kind of what you're doing now, because I want to spend most of this episode talking about your business or how you would do it different. But real quick, you've sold your business, but you're still in the industry, right? So, like, just
Yes.
tell people what you're doing now and what Balloon Coach is if they're not familiar.
Sure. In 2015, I sold my business. It's now called Party People Events to Jonathan Gerber. And he's also known as the Balloon Guild. And he's one of my instructors for Summit. So we were local friends. I helped him out with the project. And he's like, hey, Joe, if you ever want to sell your business, I'd love to buy it. And so I stayed on with him for about 7 years through COVID, being his marketing manager. And so it was really fun that I got to go from what it's like to be a home-based business and have a warehouse in your backyard to what's it like to be a part of a team and see both sides of that. So that was really a cool experience. And the reason I became ballooncoach.com is I started investing in training from the get-go. So like when we talk about memory lane, the number one thing I did right was I went to training from the get-go.
Mm.
The previous owner told me you have to invest in your education. And so I did. But so that was like a good thing that I did. But as we went through that process of like selling the company, I realized that like I hadn't put all the steps in place to make it worth $1 million company, because I didn't have systems written down for everything. But I had an amazing inventory and I had an amazing dedicated group of people who bought from me. And so that was of value to somebody, because he's like, yeah, if I just, let you just drop off and then try to go after your clients, I don't know who they are. I don't know how to get into those doors with those people. And so what was a nice transition as me being his marketing manager, and I know several other people who sold their companies this way, is if you stay on for about a year to 2 years, it helps transition your customer to trust the new owner.
Yeah, because there is that worry that you're going to sell your company and people they're just going to go to a different balloon company anyway, and then it's like, well, what did the person buy? I mean, I think of it more as from the buyer standpoint. Like, could I offer companies to buy their client list, but there's no guarantee they're going to come to me. So if that person was still around to kind of vouch for you and be like, no, this is the same business, I'm just stepping back. That's a really good tip.
Yeah, because even 9 years later, I still get private messages every once in a while or a text on my phone like, hey, Joette, we need balloons. I'm like, dude, you've been working with Jonathan for 9 years now. But it was just one of those things that we had that friendship and they still see me on social media and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of that part of the process of
And
selling it.
okay, this is a very nosy question, a very personal question. But do you ever struggle with imposter syndrome, either from teaching people things that maybe you didn't do yourself, or just being in this position of the instructor? Like, I struggle with it because I'm on the podcast and I'm talking about things. I'm like, but if I'm not doing everything perfectly right, who am I to give any recommendations to anyone? And I've had that conversation with a lot of people, because sometimes it's even on the scale of like imposter syndrome, just even acting as a professional balloon decorator. Like, I shouldn't be charging because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, would you struggle with that? And do you see other people struggle with it?
Oh, everyone that seems to struggle with it, no matter what level they are at their business. And the number one thing that I tell people is like, I originally would not have even started Balloon Coach back in 2015 unless I was pushed. And what happened is I would invest in going to trainings, and I did some competitions. I purposely picked the small, easy ones that you could like do in your room, didn't have to be in a group. I had helped other people win, like Designer of the Year, Melissa Vincent, my friend Diana Gladden and her daughter at World Balloon Convention. And I worked on a lot of big teams in those competitions and helped them, but I never had that desire. So I did the smaller things. So I still got the award that I could use for press releases and a talking point when I'm at networking events. Hey, I'm an award-winning balloon designer. Not that they like really care, but then they're like, wow, we didn't know that's even an
That's a
industry,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
So I did make those investments of going to the training, competing, and then after you compete, you often get asked to teach. And so I was teaching in the balloon industry at Float and a face painter convention, and then other people would reach out to me for individual advice. And my husband said, if you're going to spend that much time helping other people make money, you've got to get paid for your time. Because I would spend hours on the phone trying to help somebody because our industry wants to help each other out.
Yeah.
And so with the whole imposter syndrome, I'm like, oh, you know what? I do have a lot of knowledge. I've spent probably over $100,000 in training over the years. I have also invested in other business education outside of the balloon industry. And so when I first started being balloon coach, one of my friends had said, Joette, I know you want to coach and you want to help people. And you said you're going to start doing seminars that are business oriented. When? If not now, when? And so I just jumped out and I took Jonathan's offer to buy my company. I told him what I was going to do about coaching. I said, I want to stay your marketing manager so I can stay in the industry and be able to share with people what's the difference between being a small business and from home. And then what's it like to be in a big company and work with other people? So I actually physically got to experience both worlds, and most people don't. They either have experienced being a small business or they've experienced, that larger level, possibly if they bought another company. And so for me, it's nice that I get to have both worlds. And the other part about the imposter syndrome is, we all have self-doubts and do we know enough? If I don't know the answer, I have this amazing network of balloon professionals around the world. I have their cell numbers and they'll respond to me.
Yeah.
So like somebody asks a question, I can go, hey, and within 10 minutes, I've got the answer to their question where they would probably never even get a call back from that person. Not because those people are like, oh, I don't want to talk to people, but they just don't have a relationship with them,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of people say, if I've sat with you at a table and had a meal with you, I'm going to answer your Facebook message or your phone call. But if I haven't met you yet, I've got a lot of other things going on in my life.
Yes.
And they just don't have time. My wonderful friends, Balloons by Tommy. Tommy gets asked a million questions all the time about his parade stuff. And he's just like, or anything else with business, he's like, go to Balloon Coach. Joette can help you out because his focus is on growing his business. And as much as he'd want to be helpful, if he answered everybody's questions, he wouldn't be doing his job and making the money he needed for his company.
Right.
So I think that's where I really was able to get over the imposter syndrome is I'm like, you know what? There are a ton of amazing people that go to classes and they're going to instruct for that 1 hour or that 2 hours on an event, but they don't have time in their lives to answer everybody else's questions as much as they want to be helpful, but they truly want to grow a business. Because like Tommy and Scott, I'm always saying, why aren't you guys teaching more? And they're like, we want to grow a business. We want to make money to be able to go on vacation, right? And so me stepping in as balloon coach, I'm able to give all this information that I've learned from the best balloon instructors in the world, plus the people who've given me the insights to all their business ups and downs. Because people will show me their numbers. Like they'll be like, hey, Joette, here's my spreadsheet. Here's what's going on. What do you think? And then if I don't understand all of it, I'll then talk to the Fioris and be like, hey, you all are counting. Is this a good number or not a good number? Is this percentage right? So I always say Balloon Coach is not about me. Balloon Coach is a community of amazing mentors from around the world who've shared their stories and help other people grow their business through that story. Even though they can't talk to you personally, they can share you that glimpse that you can get and know that you're on the right track, or, ooh, stop doing this, do this other thing.
No, I love that because
I
had this huge job. I mean, about this massive job that I had, and it, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome thinking like, I am not the world's best balloon artist. Like I'm a good designer, but I'm not like, I can't do everything. Like I'm not the best, but I kind of had to get over that and be okay charging this massive amount because I was like, I am bringing in the 10 best people I think that are going to bang out this job. And that's where my value is. It's not because I can do it all myself. It's because I have the connections and the relationships to bring in this dream team for this event. And not everyone can do that. So I like that point a lot. I think just even as, someone who doesn't have a huge job, having the resources to figure out how to do the thing that you've requested, or the resources to get the product that you don't know where it is, like that's a lot where the value lies, not just necessarily like you're the most amazing person in the world and everyone should, trust you all the time. So I like that point. That's a really good point to make.
Yeah, it's, if you don't know how to do it, then get to the person to do. And I always say we can always learn. Like even the people who've been in the industry 50 years, there's always something new to learn, especially with all the tech and all the things that are different in the industry today from back then. And so in Balloon Coach, in our mastermind program, and coming to any of our live events, it's about building relationships with other people that can help you out. And just the other day, one of my members had a job that she had a small time window. And so a group of mastermind members went, helped her do the job. She paid them. So it wasn't on the scale of the big event you did. But even, in a smaller event, sometimes it's nice just to have those extra people.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to connect with them either online or in person helps you have that backup. If you're not ready to grow your business and add more staff and it doesn't make sense for you, then making those connections with other balloon professionals that you can trust to come in and help you out is a perfect way to do things.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break. I think that's the perfect transition into you mentioned all the tech that didn't used to exist. I want to talk about some of the changes that you've seen in the industry, and how, kind of you're keeping up with it, even though you're not running a balloon business, you're running a different business. So we will talk about that when we return. Are you ready to take your balloon business to the next level? Look no further than Havin A Party Wholesale, your ultimate destination for all things balloons. Havin A Party Wholesale is on the cutting edge of new products that will wow your clients, from top brands like Tuftex, Jamar, Anagram, Ellie's, Sempertex, PremiumConwin, and introducing Brookloon, a new balloon line created by the Havin A Party family. They've got the widest selection to fuel your creativity. Join the successful league of professional balloon artists who shop at havinaparty.com. All right, welcome back. Let's jump into the Joette of yesteryear. Let's rewind. There's a lot that just didn't exist when you were in business. I mean, like when you started, there were no Facebook groups, there was no YouTube. Like you had just some disadvantages because of the evolution of technology. That's a big one. However, you mentioned in the intro, there were a lot of things you got right. So looking back kind of at the core of what you did when you had a business versus what you recommend now, let's start with some of the things that you think stand the test of time, just like recommendations that no matter what year it is, these are still going to be things that you recommend 25 years from now, and things you recommended 25 years ago. Like, what are some of those go-to staples of running your balloon business?
The number one thing is to build a network of people and become visible where you want to sell. So many times people tell me, oh, I'm in a small community, I can't sell here. Okay, then what's the next largest community that you want to sell to? And then join that chamber or a networking organization in that area. You want to build face-to-face, real-life relationships with the people who can refer business to you or have the connections and the type of events that you want to sell to. And I think the problem with technology, and one of the problems since COVID, is some people are still afraid to get out of their house. Like there are people who are still like, after that time of shutdown, like the social interaction skills are not as good as they used to be. Like eye contact, shaking someone's hand, giving a hug, like those social things that used to be so prevalent back when I started in 2003. I think when we had the shutdown, it really messed up people's ability to communicate well with people in person.
Yeah.
And so if you can hone in and find the people that need your services, or work with the people that need your services, and build true, authentic relationships. And it's not about going to the chamber and saying, hi, I'm Joette with Party People Events. Here's my business card, buy from me. No, it's, hi, what's your name? Before you even introduce yourself, You want to always find out about the other person, because in this day's world, so many people feel like they're going after all these telemarketers and all these people just want things from them. And if you can be a true, authentic person and really want to connect with people, find out about their kids, what do they
Mm-hmm.
like about their jobs, who's their hardest client, building a real network of those base people, no matter how much technology there is in the world, there is nothing that replaces that know, like, and trust that you can get one-to-one, face-to-face with people.
Yeah,
So
and
I always tell
I
people the
like
number
that
one thing
tip
is
of
network.
I like the tip of like it doesn't have to be in your town. I live in a town of 7,000 people. It's touristy, so I do okay, but like I could probably go 45 minutes away and tap into like a million more people, honestly. Like it's if I just join those networking groups. I mean, right now I have a baby and it's not the time to like put my foot on the gas pedal, but it's nice knowing like, yeah, I'm not stuck here. Like I could travel quite a distance out of my, desired or my service area. I could expand that to wherever I want. And that is one of the advantages of digital. It's like you can list your business somewhere else. You can list it with a further radius, or you can say which areas you serve and not even say where you're located, especially if you're home based. Like people don't actually even need to know where your business exists as long as you service their area. That's such a good tip. Um,
Exactly.
okay, what else? What else balloon wise? Like have balloons totally changed? I mean, organic kind of came up out of, in the last few years, but like really has the balloon decor industry evolved much?
What's interesting is like everything that is old is new again. So
Mm.
like when you're seeing everybody make the really cool, like from Balloon Boss Summit, we did the Tammy and Charlie made a beautiful butterfly, and it's this great backdrop. And then doing the walls that Gary Ledbetter did with all the sea life inside of it. So now everybody's like, oh, we can go on a computer or we can graph it out and we can make these amazing walls. And so you're seeing those really cool things coming back again, or a lot of the different twisted components coming into something. So I think what's happened most with the industry is that organic, yes, I think it's going to always be here, but it's nice to see that there are more people trying to get back into understanding how classic and all the balloons being measured the same is going to give you a different look and can work with different clients and different budgets. So for me, that's kind of fun now, is seeing all the people who've come into the industry and basically only did the organic style, and I'm seeing more of them wanting to do the classic designs and understand, when those markets are right for that.
Well, and I
um
feel like I feel like classic is just for maybe it's because I learned it first, but for me, classic feels like the foundations. It's like these are the rules, and this is how you do it, and this is the framework, and these are the building blocks, and then you do whatever you want from there. But I feel like starting with organic would have been a lot harder because in my mind that's backwards. Like in my mind, it's like, oh, but organic is you're breaking all the rules, but you never learn the rules. So I feel like it's almost harder to go back and learn that the patterns and my brain works in that classic way. Like the first time someone tied a duplet and then made a quad and then stacked it on a column, I was like, holy cow, I get this. And then everything else made sense. So I see why people are wanting to kind of rewind and go back to those basics because for me, they're the foundation. They're very fundamental.
Yeah, and it's also when so many people are wanting to go after corporate and accounts, it's a clean look that many people want. The other thing that I see that's really evolved in our industry that we didn't have back in the day was vinyl and being able to
Oh yeah.
personalize your balloons. Because most people didn't have all the cutters that are out now. So, everybody now has a craft cutter on their desk, even if they were just a at-home mom that was doing cute things for their kids before they got into balloons. That almost seems like the norm, right? Like, okay, everybody should be able to personalize their balloons, and that adds so much extra value for your client to make it that little special thing, because everybody loves to see their name on the balloon and not
Yeah.
have to worry about having to have a manufacturer or a distributor or a special printing company make you the imprinted balloons, because that used to be the thing. Like if you wanted an imprinted balloon with somebody's logo, you're probably looking at a 2-month process back in the day.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
everything's instant. Something can get printed instant to you, and even if you don't do the vinyl cutting, you can have somebody on Etsy or a local sign shop make those for you. So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a change too in the industry, is being able to do that quick personalization.
Okay,
immediately.
let's talk more about tech because that's obviously where everything has changed. I mean, like I had dial-up internet when I was in 6th grade and like that was the start of, like you couldn't I didn't even type my papers when I was in, middle school. It was all handwritten. So like we've all experienced that crazy shift and like something as simple as the Cricut, like there was no Googling the logo and downloading it and cutting it out. So like we obviously have those huge advantages. So
Yes.
thinking about some of the stuff that you see now that just wasn't available when you had a business, everything from like email to a CRM to virtual
All of it.
assistants, what would you absolutely take advantage of if you could go back in time?
Yeah, definitely. If I could go back in time, I number one would have known about having a customer management system to be able to send out the emails because man, I just remember the day of putting everything in a Word doc and then attaching it to your email and then it being too big to send because of all the pictures. Um, and also like we were having to scan the photos
Oh
because
my
we didn't have
gosh.
digital photography. Like, I mean, I have the photo albums of back when you actually took a picture, went and had it printed and put into a plastic protector sheets. So I think the number one tools that people have right at their fingertips now, and what happens is for people who've been in the industry for 10 to 50 years, they are now coming into Mastermind just to learn how to use the tech to know which customer management system is right for them. And then Canva. Canva is like just this amazing tool that helps you make those beautiful graphics that can catch people's attention, even if it's not balloon photos, but just having that fun graphic that makes people want to have you help them with their celebrations. And so I spend a lot of time helping people with Canva.
Yeah,
Um,
CRM and Canva, I would say, are like the best money spent. Like I use both of them every single day.
Yes, totally. And then emails, being able to send out an email on a regular basis. And now there's Flowdesk, there's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact. So people can choose which one of those platforms they want to use and be able to put all of their database in and send things out. And I think what happens is so much in life, we do those individual emails and then you just don't do what you're supposed to do in contacting people because it's so time consuming doing it individually. So just having that extra newsletter thing would definitely be another
Well, and
tech.
this isn't, I mean, that's not even something that you would do different if you could go back. Like that is something you do. Like you are an email, I mean, champion. Like you send out emails, newsletters. I'm a huge into email newsletters. I only do about one a month to my customers. I do one weekly for the podcast, but let's just sit on email for just a second because I think there's a lot there. I think there's a lot of people that I always find it fascinating. It's these people with like 30,000 followers on Instagram are sending their first email and they're like, what do I do? How do I do this? And it's funny because I'm like, wait, Instagram is so much harder to build an audience than email. Email, you're sending an email to people who already like you and know who you are. But let's just do a Cliff Notes of email marketing and why you like it. I can add on why I like it, but like you use it to market to us, to balloon people, but it's the same concept. So what's your email strategy?
Yeah. And even when I had a balloon business, I did do a newsletter when I had that technology, like at the end of me selling it. But the number one thing is that you have your best if you do things consistently. And again, I'm not always the best at this. Sometimes I forget, like, oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that then. But let people know that you typically are sending out that newsletter at the first of each month. Maybe that you send it out on the first Tuesday of every month. But so people then come to expect that they're going to get something from you and look forward to it. And that when you're sending out a newsletter, so many people tell me, oh, I don't want to send out a newsletter because I hate having too many emails in my box. And I'm like, just like I tell people, don't spend out of your own wallet when you're pricing, when you're doing your marketing strategy, do not think from your personality, think from what actually works in business. And what is proven in business is sending out a consistent newsletter brings people to you because they want to hear from you. And if they don't, they're just not going to open that email. So it's okay. Like, don't look at the open rate and freak out. Like, just because they didn't open, you're still showing up in their box and they're seeing Party People Events or ballooncoach.com. They're seeing your name, so you're still going to be front of mind. So that's the
Yep.
number one thing, that you're sending the email, even if they don't open it, just to stay front of mind when they need you.
And
And
I literally did just this morning, I think 2 years ago, I subscribed to a course from Kendall Summerhawk, and it was your money archetypes. It was this thing I was really into, and she was the one who did it. Other than that, I've had no interaction with her. I bought her course. And she's a little older. She just started doing email. And I got my first email marketing, email from her today. And I was like, oh, Kendall Summerhawk, where have you been? And I opened it and it was like, here are the top 3 podcast episodes. If you have a money block, if you're stuck, here's what you can listen to. And it was like, wait, you have a podcast? And I clicked on it and now I'm like binging these podcasts. And it's like, you just never know when you're going to hit someone where they need it. Or like, if you haven't been around, you haven't been doing email, they might not remember you even exist, but like now you reminded them. Or what happens to me a lot is like, I can tell that people not Google, they search for me in their inbox. Who was that balloon person? I don't even remember their company, but I remember sort of getting an email or something, and they'll search for my newsletter in their inbox and then they'll reply directly to that newsletter. So like I know they're reaching out now for birthday balloons, but they're replying to a newsletter I sent 4 years ago. And like I know that's how they're finding me.
I have that happen with Balloon Coach often is I'll get this random email and it's like from an email I sent out like 2 years ago, but it was like a topic, like it had a blog attached to it or some free training information. And so they had kept that in their inbox, and I'll have the same thing. They're like, oh, I think I'm ready now to know more about your training. But I think what's so funny is we just have to get past our hangups of being pushy. So many in the balloon industry have the biggest open hearts that they would just give everything away for free if they could, but they need to have a business to be able to, keep their electric on. And so it's okay to stay front of mind. And it's actually not being pushy, it's being a service. Because as you said, the other day, somebody told me, hey, Joette, I called up like you told me, and I called my past clients, and 4 out of the 5 booked. And it's, other people, like I sent out the email and 2 people responded that they've been meaning to get a hold of me, but they lost my email address or they didn't remember the name of my company. And so we're busy. We have so much in our brains from all the social media and everything that's going on in the world. You have to remind them who you are, because people are going to forget your name.
Yes.
And they're going to forget the name of your business, or they're going to even forget that they ever ordered balloons. Like, you were just so busy. We're so crazy. So you have to help them out. And so just do a newsletter. You have to do it at least once a month. Twice a month is better. And then if you're really good, go for 4 times a month. And if you need help with that, I have all the templates and all the titles and the subjects. And I know Sarah's got some templates on that too. Like, just if you need help, just get it and do it.
Yeah. And done is better than perfect. Every single email I send out has a typo in it.
I know people will message me back and it's like, Joette, typo. And I'm like, well, I can't correct it, but
I know. I'm like, oops, I don't care.
Email. Thank you.
I know. Okay. Another thing that you mentioned is that people are really generous. And I've seen this firsthand. Like, oh, I just really want to help people celebrate. It's not about the money. I just want to, create memories. I have no idea what you're going to say about Joette of the past. I don't know if you were great at this or bad at this, or I'm assuming you were good, but like, if you could go back, talk about money and pricing. Did you get it right? Would you change things? Like how did you function?
So luckily I had bought an existing company and I had all of her records and I knew what she charged. I then went to training and I felt empowered. Like, hey, I do these cool things that are different than what she did. So I should get more money because I'm investing in this new stuff. So I was pretty confident with that part. But at the same time, I came from the background of being a social worker. Mm-hmm. So I was getting paid really bad. And my husband's a teacher in Florida and he gets the lowest pay in the United States. So like, obviously we're not after to be billionaires. But I was like, I have to make money from this, or I have to go back to being a social worker, which I was burnt out on. So like, I didn't have an option. Like, so many people get in this as a side hustle, or their spouse makes really great money and it's not an issue. And so I'm speaking to those real quick. If money is not an issue to you, still charge fairly, charge in the industry rates so that you're not undercutting everybody else in the industry, but also you deserve money for the time and the energy and the knowledge that you have as a balloon professional. So just throwing that out there. But what I think was hardest for me about getting money right is when I would go to trainings, we were always told, do the job cost form, right? Do the job cost form. We can't talk about money during class because it would be we just can't say this, and we don't want to do price fixing, and we don't want to make you think that what our overhead is the same as yours and it's different. But I'm like, but give me an industry standard. If you can't give me a range, how am I supposed to know? And so what happened is all these people were going to all these conventions where nobody would talk about money. Nobody would say, well, I run $1 million company, or I only sell 50,000 a year. Like, nobody was talking about the money, and everybody was afraid to say something. And so you didn't really know what was possible. So
Yeah.
like, it was so frustrating. And I had somebody come to one of my first conferences I did. I had David Mahoney come in, $1 million company. We're talking about stuff. And I asked people, like, what would you charge for this item here? Write it on a sticky note and throw it on the wall. And so when they went on a break, there was one person that was honestly a fifth of what you should be charging for the design. And I said, you don't have to raise your hand. I'm just saying, whoever this was, you need to come meet me in the hallway, because you just won a one-to-one consultation with me. Because
Wow.
somehow you've missed the mark way, and I really want to help you out. And it was a person who had gone to convention after convention, but she's like, nobody ever talked about money, Joette. So I didn't know I was undercutting the industry.
Well, and that's
So
too. I'm not making excuses for new people who are undercutting, because I think people are sneaky, but I do think the majority of new people have no idea. So if they're charging $50 for a column, we know that's insane, but honestly, they don't, because they just spent $10 on balloons and they turned it into $50, and that feels like hitting the jackpot. But like, that's why I like Mastermind and Summit, because that's when I started talking about numbers. Like, I love talking about money. If I'm selling something for half the price of what other people are selling it for, please let me know, because like, I'm leaving tons of money on the table, you know? So I think talking about money is important. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths that we have now, that we have these online communities to be able to do that. I think it would have been, I mean, even when I started and I had all of those, opportunities, I didn't know they existed to communicate with other balloon people. And even then I was kind of just, working in the dark. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, or who to ask, or what I was charging.
And I think that's the thing too, when we were talking about imposter syndrome earlier, is like, I'm able to find out what the average is in different places. And I can say, in California, people are charging this, where people over here are charging this, and help people just hear those numbers. Where if you picked up the phone and you called, or if you emailed a local balloon professional, they're busy running their company. They're not going to be thinking about, oh, let me just stop and help you out for a second. It's not that they're trying to be mean or rude, but they're wanting to work with their real clients.
A
And
100%.
so I think, like you said, that online community is so helpful now, that we can share that information openly and be able to help each other out within a moment's notice. But the way, like I said, luckily I was started with somebody that already had the numbers, and then I made friends with some other people in Orlando, and I was able to work on a project. One time we were doing a grand opening for one of the clothing stores that was coming into town. And so she's like, am I bumping down to your prices, or are you moving up to mine? And I'm like, well, how much do you charge? And it was $2 a foot different. I'm like, we're going with yours. That
Nice.
sounds awesome, right? And so just by having those conversations with other people is how I was able to go, yeah, I'm staying on track, and I am in the ballpark. But then looking at your numbers is a scary thing. And so that's the other part, is I tell people now, like, from the get-go, track your expenses, track your income. Yes, at first you're going to be putting a bunch of money into starting up your business. But if you don't look at those numbers from the beginning, you're not going to know if your sales are increasing. You're not going to know if you are putting enough percentage in for your overhead. And it's not the overhead of what you want today. It's what you want for the future. If you want a van, if you want a warehouse, if you want a space, like, you've got to add those numbers into your overhead now, or you're never going to have the money to buy those things.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, is like, I'd always look at, like, oh, I want this inflator. How many events do I need to book to be able
Yeah.
to buy that piece of equipment and then do that job? And so, yeah, just, looking at it, you're going to be able to invest it back.
Is there anything that you did that you're just like, that was dumb? Is there anything you look back, you're like, oh gosh, that really was
Yeah.
that was not smart?
Yeah, back in the day, we had the phone book. It got delivered to our doors. It had everybody's phone numbers in it. It was a printed thing. And somehow, so here's the number one thing, whether it's a phone book or if it's an online Google ad or whatever, salespeople can make you think that whatever their thing is amazing. And I remember somehow I got in touch with this one salesperson for the phone book, and they're like, yes, we want to make this ad for you. We're going to do all this stuff, and it's only going to be X number of dollars. Well, they ended up making an ad for me without my approval. and then gave me this contract of this huge amount of money. And it was horrible. It made it look like I was an alcohol and party rental company. It didn't
Uh,
have any pictures of balloons. It had like champagne glasses and something else. So like just be so careful if you're ever doing anything that you're paying for an advertisement. Make sure that that contract is very clear that you have to see it before you approve it. And yeah, it was some astronomical crazy number. So be careful of salespeople. Be careful of the people who are trying to get you to pay for marketing, because in today's world, so much of it you can do on your own without having to pay. And then go to a credible person who's used to working with balloon companies if you are going to do like Google ads and other things like that to help you design what's going to really work well for you. But yeah, that was horrible. I like the ad came out and I'm like,
did you
what on earth?
cry?
Oh yeah, I more than, I mean, it was a lot of money. It was a
Oh,
lot of money. And so like I tried to fight it, but you're like, okay, to do a court deal is going to cost much. It was an insane. Yeah, it was crazy,
oh, I
crazy.
did that
Yeah.
once too. I didn't read the fine print and I signed up for, I think it was like Wedding Wire, which like is not even for balloon.
Right.
It's like dumb, but I was, I didn't know. So I signed up and I thought it was going to be this monthly, 1 month. I'm going to like go for it and see. And I didn't read it. And it was for recurring monthly for a year. And to break the
Oh,
year contract was even thousands of dollars. So I clicked yes, and it charged my card, and there was nothing I could do. And I just remember like sitting at lunch with a coworker and like crying. Like I just felt so stupid and so sloppy, but I think everyone does that. You do dumb things, or even you buy something that you thought you were going to use and it was a huge investment and then you hate it and you don't, you never rent it or something like that. I think we all do it.
yeah. There's always going to be things that we do, and I think so many times people like are afraid to ask, like, "Hey, this opportunity came up. Should I do it or not?" And I think that's one of the nice things of being in a group where it's like a paid group, or when you're going to a conference
Hmm.
and you're with people, like you feel a little bit safer to ask than out there in the world where there's like a 5,000 person or 30,000 group. And just being able, as you go through the process, being able to turn to people and ask these questions like, "Hey, have you ever tried this? Did it work for you?" Because being able to crowdsource and know like, "Oh, never pay for those kind of print ads, they don't work," that's really helpful. Or, "Hey, this certain kind of ad does work."
Yeah.
But yeah, I that's the one thing I really wish back in the day in 2003, if there had been online communities to be able to ask those questions. There's so many choices that you would have done differently. I definitely would have signed something for the phone book at that point.
It's funny. All right. Well, let's take another break and then I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to have you build a balloon business with me.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back.
At balloonsuite.com, we help you solve some of your biggest problems and help you reach your sales goals. One of the ways we do that is with our Balloon Suite blog. You can see the blog publicly on balloonsuite.com, but for our subscribers, we have a whole other blog with additional expertise and sales strategies that we see working. If you've ever wondered how to get into a university or how to make money at a mall without ending up in a lease that you don't want, or some of these more advanced topics within balloon decorating and running a balloon decorating business, then Balloon Suite is a place for you. Learn more and find out about our packages at balloonsuite.com.
Okay. Welcome back. So a part of Summit, well, Balloon Boss Mastermind, all of your members, but Summit in particular, we're all in a room and there's so many different kinds of businesses represented. There are literally $1 million businesses. There's people who are brand new, just starting. And then there's kind of everything in between. And there's different kinds. There's people who do installations. There's people who do deliveries and car dealerships and home-based or warehouse. Like everyone's in there. So let's pick kind of mid-range. Let's say someone is kind of newish and they're shooting to clear $100,000. Not even clear. Let's just shoot for $100,000 in sales. Because I think that's kind of a milestone a lot of people try to get to. And it's hard to get there by yourself with no help, with no vehicle, with no space. Like it's hard to get there accidentally, is what I'm saying. So I am wondering if you can walk with me through how you would reverse engineer that. Because I think that's a place where a lot of people are trying to get and a lot of people can get. It seems
Yes.
pretty manageable. So I'm assuming you probably got there
Yes.
in your business, but
Yep.
maybe made some wrong turns along the way. I did too. If you're starting with a clean slate and if you have that dream student who's just going to do exactly what you say,
Yes.
what is the most direct path to getting there? Assuming that right now they're making balloons in their basement and they're ordering, they're getting Facebook inquiries and they're making small designs. How are
Yep.
they going to scale? What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is vehicle. Like you have to have a vehicle to get the balloons to where you need to go. And the equipment that you need to get there. So whatever equipment is going to help you size the quickest, whichever is going to put out, like if you need a second person, even if it's a family member that's helping you inflate, getting them that other inflator, or the Air Force 4 where four of you, two or four for drop can stand around together. But I always tell people, like when you're looking at your numbers, just do the math. If you want to sell $100,000 in balloon, divide it by 12.
Yeah.
And look at what that number is a month. Now divide that by the week. And now figure out, what does that look like for you? And if you just have a minivan that can only fit 5-foot columns, and then you would need to blow up the 3-foot toppers on location, then get the tool that can let you do that really quick without it, with the battery pack.
Yep. Get that
like
Ryobi inflator. That's my favorite.
Exactly. And so I always tell people, look at where you're currently at and what can you do with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you need to go that next level where you have to go rent a van until you can purchase one, then go ahead and put those numbers into your delivery and just be real confident about that, or put it into the number of doing the balloons, but just be confident to charge up at the beginning. Like you just have to charge like you've got the things you want so you can put the money in the bank. And part of that, as your pricing, put in education as a part of your overhead so that you can get there and learn from other people. But what I find that happens is, as you grow your balloon business, if you don't make space for your balloons, your family will hate you.
Yes.
So I built a 600 square foot warehouse in my backyard. It was great for me because my child was in elementary school and I didn't want to work somewhere else. We purposely bought our house where it is so that I could drive her to and from school, even though she got picked up in a party people van and trailer, which is how I actually got people to work for me, is they saw my trailer all the time and then they asked me if they could have a job. But when you're building your business, you've got to have that vehicle, you've got to have that space. And so don't feel like you have to have a retail shop. So number one, if you're only trying to get to $100,000, do not buy a retail store. Let me do that one more time. Do not buy a retail store. So many people think that when you have that retail space, you're going to automatically get clients, and that is not the case. The majority of the money in the balloon industry, when I look at all of the people, the majority of the money is made by us delivering awesome stuff to spaces. And so if you're delivering an awesome thing to a space, somebody else has to run your business for you if you have a store, or you have to be at the store while somebody else goes. So when you're trying to do that 100,000 range, keep it simple. Either be in your home, convert your 2-car garage into a space, or find something very expensive that is a studio space but is not a walk-in.
Yeah. I think it's very easy to make money when you have no bills to pay. That's the simplest way to put it. Like, that's why I am still home-based, and I find it hard to believe that I will ever not be home-based. I was looking around on Zillow the other day just to see like what commercial spaces exist, because I am out of space. And I'm not going to get anything decent for less than $2,000 a month. So it's $24,000 a year of additional sales that I would have to clear just to break even of what I'm doing now. And I would choose to just do $24,000 less of work. Like I don't want to work more to make the same amount. So I think, like you said, do the math and really figure out, like, do you actually need that warehouse? Do you actually need staff? Do you actually need, or do you just need a van? Because for me, I agree. I think I went from blowing up balloons in my basement. I had an SUV and I was blowing up a lot on site, which isn't my preference. I don't think it's anyone's preference, but you do what you have to do. But making that leap from an SUV to a van was, for me, the miracle move. Like, that was what, I don't know. I didn't do anything. It just, like, I was automatically selling bigger things. I was delivering faster. I was looking more professional. So I think step one is obviously, getting up and running, getting that business going. Step two is getting that van.
Yes.
Where in there does all the digital stuff fall? Because it can get overwhelming. When do you get the website, the CRM, the Instagram presence, the logo designed? Where do you personally prioritize all that stuff?
Yeah. So I always tell people, look at your budget and what is it that you're wanting out of this business. A lot of times it might be better for you to save up $10,000 or, a certain amount of money prior to you launching as a full-time business, so that you've got that set money that you can put up. Because I do encourage everyone to have a website from the front, even if it's just a 1-page website,
Mm-hmm.
because when Google, I'm sorry, when Instagram is having problems or the Facebook algorithms are all messed up, your website is there for people when they go on whatever website browser they use to be able to find you. And
Yeah.
so it makes it show that you are an actual business versus any of your social. And with social, you don't control it. And I know some people who've been in the industry 30 years that last year they totally lost all social media because somebody had hacked their account
Yeah.
and put porn on it. So now she can't even get anything on social media because of the computer stuff in the background, knowing where it's
So
coming
like
from.
she personally is blacklisted and can't just start another account.
Yeah, and it's her business. Like,
Oh,
her business Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, it got hacked and then porn got put up. And so that's like scary as all get out, right?
yeah.
And so, but she lost all of that social. And so she still had the website. And so that kept her current and letting her people know that she's still in business. So to me, that website is that number one, showing people that you're a professional thing, being able to send people over to it. And then with social media, don't stress out about it. Do it and do it consistently, which could be just once a week. Like, you don't have to feel like you have to be there 3 times. And then the other part with social media is you don't need to be an influencer in the industry. What you need to do is be a person who shows your target client what you can do to relieve their stress. So going from here's a blank slate, here's the venue, to now here it's beautiful with balloons. That's what you're trying to show. And I think right now in the world, we have so many people who think like, oh my gosh, I have to be in front of the camera. I've got to plan out all these great things. I've got to do all these things. You don't have to do all those extras, but
Yeah.
you do want to be on social media, because a lot of the people who are HR directors and event coordinators are young people in their 20s and 30s, and they're spending their time on Instagram. So you do want to have a presence there, but don't feel like you have to go overboard with it. Just show people what you want to sell to them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, so that's the thing is, in as you grow your business, getting the customer management system, picking the right one for your business, you need to decide again, are you in this for the long haul? Are you wanting to make money? And if you don't want to have to individually do emails, separate your text out, have your Instagram coming, going ahead and picking one that lets all that go together at one time, it's going to save you time and money.
Hmm.
So do you have to have a CRM to be successful at the get-go? No. But if you're able to have budgeted a startup for your business, then that's a really good way to just save you time and help you
It's
stay
like,
organized.
yeah, it's like learning a foreign language. It's way harder to like learn a second language when you're 30 years old than it is when you're like 5. So like same thing with a CRM. If you're starting out and it's all new anyway, you might as well start with a CRM. It's way harder to overhaul your 20-year-old processes and try to retrofit them into a totally foreign system. So I think people put off getting a CRM. They're really not that expensive. You're not going to make a bad choice if you don't know which one to use. I use 17 hats. A lot of people do, but like, you're not going to screw it up. You're not going to pick one and be like, oh, I accidentally bought the CRM that destroys businesses. Like, that's not a thing. Like, any help will help. Like, anything will be good. Anything is better than nothing, honestly.
Right. And then the other thing with tech is set up where your pictures are going to go from the start. Do you want to do Google Photos? Do you want to have Dropbox? How are you going to save all your photos? Because you're going to have a gazillion photos. And
Yes.
from the start, what you want to do if you are brand new to the company or if you've been in for a while, take time every day or at least once a week where you go in and you categorize and put at least get all those images into folders, so like all the arches are together or all the casino themes are together, because that is the biggest nightmare for me is I've got these amazing pictures I want to share with people and I can't find them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my gosh, and then you're trying to find something else and then that picture pops up. So organize those photos from the beginning, because we sell what we show people and what we share out there. And so having it where you can at a moment's notice grab that picture of butterflies hanging from the roof, or that picture of a grand opening with the 2 columns with the customized imprint on it. You want to make sure that you've got that in that system. And so from the get-go, have your photos organized so that you can find them to sell with.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Let's shift to the area where I think the most growth happens. And I think it is the part where we are most resistant. I know I was, and that is hiring help. What is your advice if someone, again, they're trying to build this medium-sized business? When and what positions should they hire? And also, I'm curious, when and what positions did you hire?
Yeah. So for me, the ones that I did is, again, I was driving to pick up my daughter, had my big trailer, party people, and back then the trailer that I bought from the other person, their logo was a flamingo. So I was driving around with a pink flamingo party people on it. Um, and then later on, I was able to get my own customized that was a little bit bigger. But anyway, as you're going to look at your people, the people that saw me at the school were at home PTA moms. And so they were very, very organized. They love to do creative stuff and they just wanted something to do while their kids were at school. They didn't need a ton of money. They just wanted something a little bit extra that could help for their family vacations or for fun gifts at Christmas. So what happened is they would come in on Monday and she would organize all my stuff from the weekend because the weekend is when we usually had most of our events. I'd come back and the warehouse would be trashed. Like I said, I had built a 600 square foot warehouse in my backyard. And so she would come in, pop all the balloons, put all the things back into the containers where they went, organize things. And then I would actually a lot of times sit at my living room table and call her on my cell. I mean, it's 50 feet out, but I would just call her because I was taking calls. I'm like, hey, Mid-Florida just called. Do we have burgundy and green and blue balloons in stock? We have to do a job on Friday. And then that way she could check inventory for me. And if we didn't have what I needed, I could place an order right then and there. And so having that person who could just organize and put things back up was amazing because as a creative, I am not like super organized. Like I, will go through things and then just leave it. So she would put everything back in its place and be meticulous. And then I would just give her the list of the upcoming jobs. And on Monday, she would start inflating things that we were doing for the weekend. And so we would then fill the warehouse full of balloons, and then she wasn't available on weekends to do deliveries, but I had several friends who had kids who were in high school, and so they worked with me as needed. And then another person that I got was from one of the events we did for our church. I would always do it for a discounted price if they brought the volunteers. I'd show them how to inflate and build. We did this huge 40-foot octopus, these big popcorn things and stuff, and one of the girls there was like, man, this is really fun, I love it, do you have any jobs available? And so she was awesome. She was a dual enrolled student, high school and college. So she was, obviously a person who had attention to detail. And so she ended up having her mom come and they would do my takedowns for me. And that was like the best thing is when you get somebody to strike after you've worked all day and you don't have to go do it. They would go and do the strikes for me, bring all the equipment back, put it in the warehouse or leave it if they didn't have time. It's like midnight. I don't want them like clanking around stuff. My neighbors. Yeah. So they would just park the trailer, and then Monday the other person would come and she would put it all back into the warehouse.
I just hired a takedown 2 people. And it was because I got to a breaking point, honestly. Like I had staff out sick. I was having to cancel, a dinner with my girlfriends from high school that we had on the calendar. And all of a sudden this last minute job changed. I was like, I can't live like this. Like this can't be forever. I have to have people help me. And that first weekend where I just liberally scheduled all of the takedowns, I was like, this is, they're training. So even though I could go do this takedown, do I feel like I'm throwing a little bit of money away? Yes, but it's an easy one that they're going to learn how to do it. Oh my gosh, I'm never going back. Because when I added up the numbers, I think I paid out $200 in takedown fees. And I think it was a $5,000 weekend. And I'm like, holy cow, I think I made this out to be so much of a bigger deal in my head than it needed to be. And I think that's with everything, especially staff wise. Like, how do I know I can pay them? What if there's not enough work? What if they start their own balloon business? I think we try to self-sabotage before any of those things are even an issue. And it's just been the best ever. Like those things could all still happen. But in the meantime, I'm living a life that isn't going to give me a mental breakdown and I'm still making money. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, the 2 positions that I have hired that have really changed my life was an inflator and a takedown person. And then I have a third, I have a virtual assistant. Honestly, that one came early for me because of all the podcast stuff. Like I have more admin than most people do, but if you get to the point where you have someone who's able to answer your emails, and now she's actually just managing my sales and I just get paid invoices that pop up. I'm like, well, this is witchcraft. How is this happen? How am I able to just be making money and I'm not even on the computer? Like it feels amazing. And I have no full-time people. I have very few people that are even hourly. Most of it's flat fee. It's just an agreed upon rate. And as long as you're kind of covering that and then some, it's worth it.
And I think the number one thing that I always tell people is look at the skill set that you have and what you're great at, and then what you're not good at, hire out. So in the example of when I sold the company, Jonathan was like, Joette, I have no desire to go to networking events. That is not my thing. I'm not good at it. So he's bought multiple businesses. So like one person was going to all the Orlando ones. I was going to the ones in Lakeland, and we were gone on vacation. And I'll never forget the text I got from him. He was at a networking event. He's like, now I know why I pay both of you, because I am standing in a corner. I don't want to talk to these people. I'm ready to go home. Like,
That's me.
he's gotten better over the years, but like he didn't feel good about being there. That's not his thing. He's great at building things and having a team, but like being at that networking side. So whatever's not good for you, hire someone else. And so if the sales part of it incoming, I know many people, Jonathan included, that he has a team that answers those calls, does all the jobs for them since that. And what's incredible is I've gone on jobs now where I'm like, this used to be like a $500 gig, and now this is like multiple thousands of dollars for like a college back to school. And it's because that person on the phone, she is selling no problem. Like she's not stuck in like what we used to do for them. She's like, hey, let's give you everything.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And it can really transition things. So yes, there's a learning curve. Yes, there's communication, but if you don't want to be working 80 hours a week and burnt out and your family hating you, put systems in place from the beginning and make it so that it is that manageable, because so many people get in the balloon industry because we want more time with our family and our kids, but we do the opposite and we build this business thinking we're supposed to do it all by ourselves. And if you're going to those next areas of wanting that income, at some point you have to give something away.
Yeah.
And so like Sarah, I love how you've pieced it out where it's not full-time people, it's these different people doing their piece. And that's manageable for people who are kind of scared about, oh my God, I don't want a full-time employee. What am I going to do?
Yeah. And I think the other thing that keeps me like peace of mind for me is that none of the people that work for me depend on that money. They all have other full-time jobs, or they all, like you said, their husband maybe makes money and they're a stay-at-home mom who wants a little extra cash. Like I'm not taking people away from like their full-time job with benefits to come and guarantee them a job with balloons. For me, that's scary. Maybe one day I'll get to that point, but it's not like an all or nothing. And I think it took me a very long time to get to that point, that it's like $40 for someone on a weekend is like, for them, that's a lot of extra cash. For me, it feels like hardly anything, like not worth leaving your house. But you think of how many people are running around doing like DoorDash for extra money, and they're not making $40 an hour. And they're certainly not like, there and back and done. Like I started doing teardowns at a flat rate of $40 for up to 2 hours. If they do it in 10 minutes, more money for them. But I don't care as long as it's back. If it's far away and it's over 2 hours, then it turns more hourly. But that's like really, really rare. Like most of my teardowns are local. They're these marquee letters that I have. They take them down, they bring them back. And I think I'm paying extra if it's like at like 11:30 at night. But one of the guys loves that. That's like his favorite. He likes doing those evening takedowns. And I just have a Google spreadsheet where I list available events, and the two people that I've hired as kind of party crashers claim those events. And sometimes I put them both on because it's a big project. And the thing that I didn't realize, I guess, is that it actually makes me look way more professional when I'm not always the one showing up. I think it makes my clients like, whoa, look at you with this van and this team and this whole like situation figured out. I think it actually makes the perceived value of my company even higher. But that's all new for me. Like I waited 10 years to hire someone. So, but yeah, I think that's the key to getting to that 6 figures without like wanting to cry. Like you said, you can get there by yourself, but it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is as you're first new and you aren't ready for those steps, I had a joke at church. I'm like, you either watch my daughter while my husband and I work, or you're going to come on a balloon job. Which would you like? Like,
Yeah.
I was very fortunate that I had a really nice, supportive church group that I did. A lot of them watched my daughter for days, like for a full day when we had big events. Or other ones where I had it was like a family of 4, and it was a mom and a dad who were teachers and their 2 teenage kids, and they would be able to come and help us crank out a prom or do New Year's Eve and do all the drops and the installs. And so, look at that, at what your family support is at first, and be like, hey, are there some friends that might want to help out? That can kind of help you get used to other people being around before you're ready to hire that person and kind of get used to how that all feels.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's do a review. I think if you're kind of in that mid zone, get a van. Get it earlier than you think you can afford it. Get a van. That is my advice. And then from there, start looking at outsourcing some of the jobs that take so much of your time.
Yes.
because that for me is the resource you want, is the time, not even the money. And I honestly, I don't want to oversimplify, but like, I think that's it. I think that's it. And then, like you said early on, it's those personal connections. You obviously have to have sales and have to have the job. But if you're trying to take this maybe from part-time to full-time, I think the van is key. Having, at least enough space in your basement or something to blow up balloons or find a space. And then just doing the same stuff that sells over and over and over. I don't think it has to be super complicated to get there.
Right. And I think the thing that most people have a problem with is just the basic marketing of you have to get out there, you've got to ask for the sale, you've got to build relationships. And yes, you can be online and have awesome SEO, but that's not always going to work in all areas. So there are outreaching steps that you have to do, and it's just putting it and blocking it into your schedule to continue to do that reach out to get the people to come into your funnel that you need.
Absolutely. Okay, let's take one more break and then we're going to end on some fun questions. Hey listeners, before we wrap up today's episode, let's talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Balloon Guild. Do you ever see amazing balloon decor online and wonder, how did they make that? The Balloon Guild is revolutionizing the industry by standardizing recipes, SOPs, and offering unparalleled training. Their mission? To elevate balloon artists worldwide, ensuring efficiency, profitability, and unparalleled professionalism. For business owners and their teams, the Balloon Guild isn't just a resource, it's a game changer for growth and development. For me, it's been the ultimate shortcut in finally getting things out of my head and onto paper, so I'm not making things up on the fly, and so my team can work together to create consistent, fast decor. Visit their platform today at theballoonguild.com or by using the link in the show notes. New recipes and resources are released every month. All right, welcome back. Oh, Joette, I got some fun ones for you. They have nothing to do with business. One does, but these are just for fun. The first question, where's your favorite place to go on vacation?
I am a beach girl. I
Okay.
absolutely love being able to walk the beach at sunrise or be on the beach at sunset just to see those beautiful colors, because it's like that reminder that every day is fresh and new. And and get my feet in the sand. That's my happy place.
Love it. Love it. Okay, next one for us shoppers out there. I'm always looking for like, what's the thing that people are loving? What's your favorite like material possession, something that you've purchased that's like tangible, from like the last 6 months? This could be balloon related. It could be something you saw on Instagram and fell for, something you grabbed at the store. Do you have anything that you're currently like recommending to people?
So I just got a selfie stand the other day that it's collapsible, where it can be like you could hold it out as a selfie stick if you want. Not that I ever do that, but I could. And because I was thinking for Summit that would be good, but I'm getting ready to go on a place where I wanted to be able to have something that could fit really easily in my purse or my backpack. My current stand is taller.
Okay.
And so this one gets really compact, so it looks like a small umbrella.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, and what was great is even here in the office, the way it tilts, it allows just to be different than my other ones that I have. So it just tilts a little bit better, and then it's more compact, because I feel like there's so many times when we're at an event and we want to get those photos of things, or we're trying to do a video or whatever. So like I said, it's just compact. It looks like you're carrying an umbrella. It has a little remote. So yeah, that I just got that the other day.
Oh, that's cool. I saw this online and it's so true. And it was like 50% of trying to make content for social media is trying to get your phone balancing on something that it's not supposed to balance on. She was like, just like buy a $20 little tripod and you will save half the struggle. It's true. I always have like a book and it's like leaning against a bag of balloons that then like falls over. It's just like, why don't I just get a tripod?
Yeah. So I love this one because, like I said, it folds up. It's not the most super stable thing in the world, just because it folds and everything. But I'm like, oh, this will be perfect for when I'm doing some of my trips, and since my other one wouldn't fit in the bag.
Love it. Love it. All right. And then the last one is a little bit businessy. But it's, what is your number one piece of advice for business owners?
Number one piece of advice for business owners is get out of your own way. And what goes along with that is just like look in the mirror when you're like scrolling the world and comparing yourself to other ones. Like, we so many times will tell ourselves that we're not good enough, we're not like somebody else, and you don't need to be like anybody else. You need to be yourself, and then get the education, the support, the mentor, whatever that you need to help you take the next step. If you're seriously afraid of something, then get help, reach out to somebody to do it, but then just take the action. Because I just, I hear so, that's like the biggest thing I do with Balloon Coach. People are always like, what are you doing? Like, how are you helping all these people? And it's because I'm helping people grow their confidence by taking action. And when you do something, if you don't do it right, you're going to learn from that mistake and do it better next time. And when you do it right, you're going to be like, yes,
Yeah.
I just did this thing. I just called this person and they just gave me $5,000 because I asked. Like, business is the same no matter what type of business you want. It's all about you getting out of your way and just doing the things that are business that help you grow. And so just pep yourself up, tell yourself you're good, see yourself as I can, I will, and it will happen. And all these things like get in the van, all that. Like, you just go, I'm going to have a van so I can sell more balloons, and it's going to work if you get out of your way and stop saying, oh, well, I don't have enough money, or I'm not good enough, or whatever.
I
Just
agree.
get out of your own way.
I also I'm reading the 4 Hour Work Week for the first time ever, which is crazy because it's like the book for, people who want to work less and make more. So I'm listening to it, and one of the things that he talks about is dreamlining. Are you familiar with this? It's basically like you set your dreams like a goal, but then you like actually set an actual timeline of like how you're gonna achieve that, whatever.
Yeah.
But his advice that stuck with me was like, take the first baby step today. Like, don't worry about how am I going to afford my dream house on the beach. What's the first baby step? It's probably like going on a vacation to that town and seeing if you even like it. Or, like I talked to you before we were recording, I took kind of a scary business leap that I'm not going to share, but like the first step was sending an email. It wasn't, taking this huge plunge and figuring out all the details. It was literally sending an email, which isn't scary. Sometimes it's reaching out to people and getting advice. Like, whatever that very first baby step is, maybe it's the van, and your first baby step is going to be like setting up Facebook alerts for when that type of van is available, right? Like, so it doesn't have to be like buying the van today. It can be like, what's that first step, and how, like, again, how do I put things in my life to help me get out of the way, like you said.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so big about, we teach about vision boards. We talk about breaking down those action steps monthly, because when we can see what we want for the future, things just start happening. And I can't explain it, and I know you've dealt with that too. Is like, it's just the way the world is. Some people call it the law of attraction, some people call it manifesting. But the bottom line is when you have that vision, that dream line of what you want for the future, and then you just take that one step, other things come into play. And it's just awesome how it all works.
100%, 100%. And before we get off, where can people find you and promote your services? Go for it.
Yay. BalloonCoach.com. And then you can say that you want to join us at Summit, and you can come to our live event, or you can join Balloon Boss Mastermind. And I encourage everyone just to come and kick the tires for 1 month. It's $97 a month. You will make that back immediately if you take on action of one of the trainings. Like, it's that simple. And we have weekly live training. You can choose to be on one or all or none. Everything is recorded, and you can come back and watch it later. And then I do have some other cool trainings that will be coming up in 25 to give people more intimate times together to work on projects online and in person. But the bottom line is just go to ballooncoach.com. And no matter if you've been in the business 0 days or if you've been in the industry 50 years, I guarantee there are pieces of our program that can help you grow and connect with other people into the technology, or to increasing your confidence in building and selling the balloons. So
100%.
Sarah, thank you so much for having me on again today. I always enjoy being on the podcast, and I just love how you share your journey with other people so openly and candidly. It really has helped our industry grow a lot. That is honestly a change that I've seen over the years, is being able to have this podcast for people to be able to hear from all the different people you've interviewed, to you just being like, hey, this happened and blew up and it was horrible, to this was amazing.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. I have so many people tell me all the time, like, oh my gosh, Sarah's helped me so much because I've done this, this, and this. And, just putting it out there for people to know what is possible is amazing.
Well, I appreciate it. And I will be at Summit. This episode is coming out in September. There are still tickets available for November. And that's all you have to do. Take baby step. You have to go to ballooncoach.com, get your name on the emailing list, and check out what's going on. But yeah, Summit is in November. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I get all my ducks in a row for the next year. It's like me time, ultimate me time. I love being around all of my peers and learning and preparing for the next year.
And if you're one of those people like, oh, I'm just not really sure about the $97 yet, you can book a 10-minute consultation with me. Or I also have a couple of little free things where I send you emails and help you through a couple of steps. So feel free to sign up for one of the free things if you're not quite ready to jump in the pool yet.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much once again for sharing your knowledge. And we will talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.